This week could mark a historic turning point in former President Donald Trump's legal journey. Trump's fate in the New York criminal case is now in the hands of Justice Juan Merchan, who faces a complicated decision on the issue of absolute immunity in a case that could shape the American legal landscape and define Trump's legal and political future. Trump has already been convicted of 34 felony counts related to his hush money payment scandal, but he's making a bold appeal, claiming that part of the evidence should be dismissed under the doctrine of presidential immunity. This case isn't just about Trump's actions. It's about the role of presidential power, the boundaries of the law, and whether any American leader can truly be held accountable. As we await Justice Merchan's ruling, the stakes are enormous, not just for Trump but for a country grappling with the rule of law in the context of executive authority. Will Justice Merchan side with Trump and allow immunity for certain actions taken during his presidency? Or will he uphold the law without exception, paving the way for sentencing and a potential prison sentence? In this video, we'll break down the key moments, legal nuances, and implications of this critical decision. Let's dive into the complex intersection of law, politics, and accountability, and explore what this decision could mean for Trump, his loyalists, and the nation. 1. A quick recap of the New York criminal case against Trump. The charges against Trump stem from allegations that he authorized hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during his 2016 presidential campaign. New York prosecutors argue that these payments were made to suppress damaging information and that Trump falsified business records to cover up the payments. The result? A landmark case involving 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, the first time in U.S. history that a former president faces criminal charges of this nature. While much of the alleged misconduct happened before he assumed the presidency, there's a twist. During his presidency, Trump reportedly discussed the hush money payments with then White House Communications Director Hope Hicks in the Oval Office. Trump's defense team argues that this interaction, because it occurred while he was president, should be protected under absolute immunity, a legal concept that would shield him from prosecution over actions directly tied to his presidential duties. 2. The core of the defense: absolute immunity. At the heart of Trump's argument is absolute immunity, a shield designed to protect sitting presidents from facing legal consequences for certain actions performed in their official capacity. The U.S. Supreme Court has acknowledged that some immunity may apply to a president's official duties, but it has stopped short of extending blanket immunity. Trump's legal team claims that his discussion with Hope Hicks about the hush money payments, which took place in the Oval Office, qualifies as a protected presidential act. They argue that the discussion, because it happened during his time as president and within the White House, should be immune from scrutiny. However, prosecutors maintain that this claim stretches the concept of presidential immunity far beyond its intent, aiming to set a dangerous precedent that could shield all presidents from being accountable for actions taken even in their personal interests. If the judge accepts Trump's immunity claim, it could exclude certain evidence from the case and force a reevaluation of his conviction on the New York charges. This decision would send shockwaves across the legal and political landscape, fundamentally altering how presidential accountability is enforced in the United States. 3. Justice Juan Merchan's role and the path forward. Justice Juan Merchan, a respected judge known for his tough stance on white-collar crime, now has the monumental responsibility of deciding whether Trump's immunity claim holds water. Merchan faces intense scrutiny, as his ruling could set a legal precedent impacting future cases against presidents and other top officials. Legal experts suggest that Merchan is likely to rule that the absolute immunity claim is irrelevant here, as the overwhelming bulk of evidence against Trump in this case centers on actions taken prior to his presidency. However, Trump's team has employed a classic delay tactic, appealing to multiple court levels to push the final sentencing decision as far back as possible. If Merchan denies Trump's immunity claim, the sentencing will move forward, possibly as soon as late November. Trump will likely appeal the ruling, but this time, the clock is ticking, and there are limited legal maneuvers left in his playbook. 4. The significance of sentencing. If Justice Merchan moves forward with sentencing, Trump faces the potential of a historic outcome, a former president possibly being sentenced to prison. Though unlikely to happen while he's in office, any sentence would loom as a stark reminder of the legal weight hanging over his political future. Trump's team has indicated they will exhaust every appeal route to delay sentencing and argue that any sentence should be suspended if he holds the presidency, underscoring Trump's aim to evade justice by winning the 2024 election. Legal observers note that Trump may not even appear for his sentencing if it occurs. Instead, his legal team is expected to argue that he should be granted the option to remain absent, a request Justice Merchan may or may not honor. Should Merchan sentence him in absentia, Trump could face severe political fallout, with images of a convicted felon seeking re-election to the White House dominating media headlines. 5. A potential sentencing delay. Trump's delay game strategy. Throughout his legal battles, Trump has relied on delay tactics to keep himself out of the courtroom. This New York case is no different. If Justice Merchan denies the immunity claim, Trump's lawyers are expected to file for emergency appeals at multiple levels, from the New York Appellate Division to the U.S. Supreme Court. This strategy has successfully stalled legal proceedings in other cases, and Trump is banking on similar results here. Trump's legal team could also invoke the Supremacy Clause, a constitutional doctrine they argue shields federal authority from state-level interference, to attempt to halt the New York case. Legal experts caution that these tactics could lead to a protracted legal standoff with federal courts and potentially bring the case before the Supreme Court. 6. Public opinion and the impact on Trump's base. The New York case against Trump has fueled an already polarized American political landscape. For Trump's loyal supporters, any prosecution is viewed as politically motivated, while his critics argue that holding him accountable is essential for preserving democratic integrity. Trump's legal strategy taps into this polarization, portraying himself as a victim of a weaponized justice system, an argument that resonates with his base. As Trump's base rallies around him, critics emphasize the potential damage of granting a president unchecked immunity, arguing that it could pave the way for abuses of power. This case underscores a broader debate about the role of the president in the American justice system and whether high-ranking officials should be held accountable like any other citizen. 7. Justice Merchan's reputation on the line. For Justice Merchan, this case represents a career-defining moment. Known as a law and order judge, Merchan has gained a reputation for handling high-profile cases with fairness and rigor. Legal experts say that Merchan's decision will be scrutinized heavily, particularly given the political stakes surrounding Trump's prosecution. Critics of Merchan worry that his ruling could become a rallying cry for Trump's supporters, who view him as a tool of a biased judiciary. Merchan is likely aware of the significant implications of his decision. By moving forward with sentencing, he risks becoming a target for Trump's political machine, while ruling in Trump's favor could undermine the justice system's credibility. 8. Potential presidential pardon. Trump's options post-sentencing. If Trump wins the 2024 election and assumes office, he could theoretically pardon himself from federal charges, though the legality of self-pardons remains untested. However, state charges, such as those in New York, lie beyond presidential pardon powers, posing an unresolvable legal issue if Trump's sentencing is upheld. If convicted on these state charges, Trump could face imprisonment after leaving office. Although unlikely, this scenario poses significant challenges for the country, raising questions about the intersection of presidential power and accountability in the American legal system. 9. Implications for other January 6th defendants. The prospect of Trump regaining office has sent ripples through other legal cases, particularly those involving January 6th defendants. Many of the convicted rioters, including Oath Keepers and Proud Boys leaders like Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio, view Trump as their savior. Trump's pledge to consider pardoning these individuals underscores his commitment to appealing to his base, but also hints at the potential abuse of pardon power for political gain. If Trump were to grant mass pardons to January 6 defendants, it would likely ignite a firestorm of controversy, setting an alarming precedent and potentially inspiring future extremists. As Justice One Merchant prepares to rule on Trump's absolute immunity claim, the nation watches with bated breath. This decision represents a defining moment not only for Trump's personal legal battles, but for the future of presidential accountability. Trump's fate hangs in the balance, and with it, questions of immunity, executive power, and the integrity of American justice. If Merchant denies Trump's claims and moves forward with sentencing, the former president could face unprecedented consequences, including potential jail time after leaving office. The country is entering uncharted territory, and this case may set a precedent for generations to come. In the days and weeks ahead, as Trump's legal team employs every tactic available to delay sentencing, Americans will be forced to confront fundamental questions about justice and the rule of law. This case is more than a legal proceeding. It's a test of American democracy and the principle that no one, not even a former president, is above the law.